I suppose on the plus side, it's the first drop in 6 months, so I suppose we're being greedy in this instance here. I suppose second is, I suppose we did get that bit of a bump down because of the higher base, ironically, of semiconductors in the previous October, when we saw October last year stepping up from the prior 2 months. So it's a bit of a technicality. We had expected, I think, the chip sector to continue to drive the export, but it took a bit of a breather in October. Fortunately, on the flip side, we still have, I think, the pharma segment being still quite strong. This took essentially export item essentially accounted for easily over 20, sometimes 25% of Singapore's total next NODX. It stepped back from the chip segment this particular month, but I don't think we need to worry too much. I think the fundamental driving chip demand is still quite strong.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, you talk about the importance of electronics. It was more or less kind of flat on the month, so not too much to worry about there. When you look at the regional breakdown, though, I mean, it does speak to kind of what we're seeing in geographical trends, with exports to China still up some 5% in October. Also to the U.S., climbing 13.2%. Any reason to be worried about what's happening with COVID cases in the U.S. and Europe, though, filtering back to Singapore, given that it is such a global trading hub?
Indeed, fingers crossed. I suppose this is where we continue to be quite, I suppose, cautious about a sustainable recovery, in that the end demand could still pull back if infection rate were to lead to more serious concern about healthcare situation in the key markets where I suppose the Asian exports go to. So yes, so far so good. But obviously, new infection means there are vulnerability ahead. Vaccine news is good, but ultimately, sustainable recovery, I think, as we've seen from today's exports figures, is still something that we have to be careful about. Vaccine shot in the arm is encouraging, but there's still plenty of risks ahead.
There are plenty of risks ahead. Seng Moon, good morning. Thank you for joining in this conversation. But let's focus on the good news, because most of 2020 has gone by talking about the negative news. The RCEP deal, how much of that is a shot in the arm for Singapore?
Well, if we look at it in totality, Singapore already had agreement with all the key trading partners. We sign as many as we can, big or small, and we already have them with China, even down to New Zealand, Australia as well. So it's less about, I suppose, Singapore being more engaged. I think it will be once the benefit of RCEP kicks in, which hopefully will be less than 2 years, because it's going to be 2 years, up to 2 years for governments to ratify all the deals and implement them. So if we were to see more trade within the region, then for small little Singapore, which is a regional hub, we stand to benefit, not today, tomorrow, or perhaps the benefit will be clearer in a couple of years' time when we see a filter-through effect of the deal on the region as a whole.